Hello, in this video I am going to work on the handle. So I want this to be a metal, so I'm going to have two different materials on this table. So the first thing I need to do once I'm done with my wood is to grab everything and I will group it. So I'm selecting everything, then right clicking over it and say group layers. And that will put it all under one group, one folder. And I'll name that wood. And I'll show you why we do this. So if I add a material here, and I'll make like a metal, you'll notice that it's taking all the bump and displacement from my wood on here. So we need to mask it out. And so we can do that by adding a mask. So I'm going to add a white mask, and then I'm going to add a paint layer. Then use the polygon fill, and I want to mask out the handles. So now those are good. And if I look at my mask, I selected my mask and then go to mask, you'll notice it should look something like this. So now I need to take this and invert it basically for the metal part. So I'm going to go to material. So I'll make a new group, and just so it's visible, I'm going to change the color of this to something very noticeable. So something like this, and bring up the roughness. So it's like this rough kind of red. And I'm going to drag this material into, delete this. I'm going to make a group. In this group, I'm going to make it be metal. Okay. I'm going to drag this into my metal group. So now I need to do the opposite, the inverted mask, basically. So I can go over here, add a black mask, add a paint layer, do the selection, and I want that to be visible. Oops. That. So now I have two kind of groups, the metal and the wood, and now I can work on the metal. Whenever I am kind of doing a metal material or a material in general, I look at my reference. So I'm going to do something like this. I zoom up on it and I look for the fine detail that makes this thing up, the base material. And you have to be careful what color you pick, because sometimes the light that this is in can be more bluish, so it will tint the color. So you don't want your color of your object to be affected by the light when you're putting it in here. So I'm going to put this off to the side and then do this one. And I am going to color pick for my base. So I always start with a fill layer, and I'm going to find a color, so probably something dark like that. And then I'll expand this out. So I know this is a metallic. So I'm going to go down here and go to metallic. And generally, you don't want to have a mix of metallic. You either want it on or off. So just be aware that if the metal is matter, it's either there's dust on it or some other material on top of it. or the roughness. If you bring up the roughness, it becomes more matte. But I think I want it to be something like this. And I'm looking at my reference. So something like that is a good base. So I'll name that base. Okay, so now if I look at this even closer, you can see that whatever's raised becomes a lighter gray. And you can see over here, it's basically the patina or the oxidation has been worn away in the areas that are pushed out more. And so you can see that in the scratches here and there. So we need a lighter metal, basically. So I'm going to make another one. I'm going to duplicate this. And I am going to raise up the color, the value of the color up, something like this. And I'm going to have, I want it to have a little bit of height, and I want it to be a little bit less rough, so it's a little shinier, and I think that's a good base. So we'll name this feature. So this went over everything. So now we're going to add a black mask, and I'm going to create a fill. I add a fill. The fills are used so that I can put a texture in the fill. And I would do a quick search to find something that is like the effect that I'm seeing in here. It's kind of a bumpiness that I see. And it's not a waste of time. You can hover over these and you can see how they you can see them a little bit bigger. You can even go up here to large, so you can see those a little bit better. It's not a waste of time for you to just make sure that you start with a good base, and sometimes just trying multiple ones is fine. So I'm just gonna look through and I'm gonna pause it until I find something. Okay, so I did a little searching. So I went through a few of these and just to find a good enough feature that gets my base kind of material down. So initially I tried this one. I just add a fill and I was like, that's too repeaty. Like the texturing is too repeaty, the clouds 3. So then I tried another one, this black and white. That was okay. And I might still keep that on, but I wasn't getting the on and off, like the spottiness that I wanted. And then I tried this one and that was too much. And then this is the one I ended up with, the 3D noise fractal. So I wanted to show you my process of this, of just like searching, because it's okay to look through. Some people get frustrated when their first option is not what you end up with, and it's very normal, especially for your feature map, the thing that is like doing a lot of your work, to do some searching and make sure it's the perfect one, or the one that gets you there closest. So you can also do things like, I'll have this one, and I think this one was one that had some interesting stuff, and I can go over and say add. So we can try different kinds of blending. So that was let's add sub. So I want to do linear add. So that add stuff, I can also try overlay. And now I'm getting a blend of both. I'm getting on and off effects, which is kind of nice. And now I can just delete these other ones that I don't really need. Hitting the X and X. Okay. So now I have a base kind of material of that. The next thing would probably be getting some edge wear there by going over and I'll probably duplicate this, and then I will remove the mask. So remove mask, and I'll start with a new mask. Add a black mask and add generator. And then I'll do something like the middle edge so that I get that same kind of effect. Just play around with these settings. Maybe the contrast is too much. And maybe it's hard to see, so maybe I'll bring up the height really a lot so I can see what's going on with that. And bring that down, maybe change the color of it so it's more reddish. There we go. So it wasn't appearing very much. So having extreme material, obviously this is too much. 0.05. And then you're able to dial it in a little bit easier. We'll make it really bright. Amount. So this kind of wears it away a little bit. Go. And now I will go back and fix this so that it's closer to the amount of wear. So now it's like wearing away the patina. If you're having a hard time seeing it with the lighting, you can also go over here to base color and you can kind of see the effect that we're achieving. Okay. The next thing would probably be to add like scratches and that kind of thing. I'll name this edgeware. So you can do that. There's a video on that. But the next thing I want to do is add some effect on top of this, like a normal map effect. I'm going to change this to medium, and I can go down here and find, you see these ones that are kind of have these purple and bluish, reddish things. These are normal maps that you can add to your object. I am going to make a new layer, and I don't want to affect the color. So you can turn off parameters by hitting these little buttons up here. I don't want it to affect my metal or the height or the rough, but I want it to affect the normal. So I'm going to find one. I think there was one that was pretty interesting I saw before. I just have to find this one. So what you can do is drag this in to the normal parameter, and then I just need to change my UV projection to planar projection, and you just place it. Remember, we can use this tool, the surface tool, to snap it. So I'm going to snap it right in the middle and then scale it down. So it looks like something like this. And I get a little nice detail that would be really hard to do in the model or not economical. Something like this. And then you'll see on the other side how it's affecting the other one, but it's not lined up right. You have to change the UV wrap to none, and that should take away that one, and then you just duplicate this. So duplicate layer, then move it over to apply it to this one. Something like this. So now I have a cool little feature, and then you would name these probably like normal details. Do the same thing over here. And yeah, then I can just turn that off and you get a nice little detail on those. I'll see you in the next video.